All right, here we go. Stormy Daniels, welcome to Vlad TV.
Thank you.
Well, a lot of people know about you. A lot of people heard stories about you, but this is the first time we're actually sitting down together. So I want to do the whole story.
Okay.
Starting from the very beginning. So where'd you actually grow up?
I grew up in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Okay. I know you went to North Dakota for a while, Florida for a while.
Yeah, all over the place. But that was all before the age of 4. I was born in Baton Rouge and then moved back there when I was like 4 or 5 and all the way through high school.
Okay. And your parents were together at one point, and then your father ended up leaving the family?
Yeah, they split up when I was 4 and a half, I believe.
Okay. And then I guess your mom remarried at one point?
A couple times, yeah.
A couple times.
I didn't keep track.
Okay. So what was Baton Rouge like growing up?
Well, when you're there and you don't know any better, it was fine. It's small town. It's the capital city, so they think they're bigger and more important than they are. I live in New Orleans now. New Orleans is really the heart of
I love New Orleans, by the way.
Thanks.
Yeah, shout out to Commander's Palace, my favorite restaurant.
Right?
In the whole world.
Have you got to sit in the kitchen?
Not yet.
Next time you go, you have to ask for the special table in the kitchen.
I'm doing that.
It's totally so cool to watch them work.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So you're growing up in Baton Rouge, and you have a relatively normal childhood until the age of 9.
Correct.
Talk about what happens then.
So my parents had split up, and my mom was a single mom and was working. And I honestly believe that it was my dad leaving that kind of cracked her, because up until then she was pretty normal, like a good mom, I guess. And I think she literally it broke her heart. I believe she was very much in love with my dad, and he met another woman and left, and she just kind of wasn't the same. And so she was working, obviously, quite a bit to pay bills and stuff, and a second job. And then I think she just kind of started doing her own thing a lot. And she just would go away and would be gone for longer and longer periods of time. I wish I had an explanation. I wish I could say, oh, she was a drug addict or she was an alcoholic. But the truth is, I don't think she was. I mean, I saw my mother drink maybe 5 times in my whole life. And it was a wine cooler at a barbecue. You know what I mean? Like, doesn't really count as being like an alcoholic. And I never saw or suspected drugs. She didn't have like a gambling addiction. So I think she was just... Honestly, that's one of the big mysteries of my life is where is she? But, so she started being gone, and I'd walk home from school. And I did grow up in a pretty bad area. I think when, my parents bought the house, it was okay, but it got pretty dangerous pretty quick. And so I'd walk home, and I had a friend, and I just started spending more and more time roaming the streets. Like that sounds worse than it is. Playing outside. And I had a friend that lives around the corner, and I was really good friends with her. And I'm assuming you're talking about the neighbor situation, right, which means you probably read my book.
Yeah.
I'm impressed. I didn't think people read anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah. And so, like I said, she and I would play together, and there was a predator who lived next door to her, and she just wasn't as, what is the word I'm looking for? And I'm not going to say her name. The name in the book is not her name. Mm-hmm. That's the only thing in my book that is changed, by the way. And I found myself like I was a year and a half older than her, and just feeling the need to protect her. And so I just put myself, as I tend to do in bad situations, trying to do the right thing or to help other people. And he molested both me and her, and it wasn't until he tried it with a girl who was visiting a relative on the street who was much older than us, who was like, what the fuck is going on? And he got in trouble. But honestly, it's just another, oh my God, I didn't even put 2 and 2 together until right now. Holy fuck. Oh, can I cuss?
Yeah, go ahead.
That it's just another failure by the justice system that when it comes to dealing with victims, because he never served time. And I don't really know why. And I kind of wasn't allowed to play with her anymore. And like we grew apart. But I do know he never served any time whatsoever. And fun fact, when I was much older, I went back with, and I will admit, some bad intentions, and discovered, unfortunately, he was already dead.
Well, I guess you actually tried to approach your mother and a guidance counselor.
Yeah.
And you told them what happened, and they didn't believe you.
I didn't I approached a guidance counselor. My mom, I know she knows. This is one of the reasons I don't speak to her, because before this even happened, like before the other girl reported it, before there was anybody involved, my mother actually said to me, something weird going on. I get a bad vibe from this person. And I think he had said something inappropriate to her. And so she asked me, and she immediately, before I even got my answer out, followed it with, because if that's the case, you need to stop playing with my friend who lived next door. And I didn't want that to happen. Like, then I'd be all alone for weeks with nobody to even hang out with. Are you fucking kidding me? So I was like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. So I totally lied. I was 9 and was like, no, I've never seen anything weird. Because at that point, that was my only friend and her parents fed me. Like, I probably would have starved to death, to be quite honest. And so I lied about it. And that's the last my mother and I talked about it. She goes, good. Well, we don't want any more. We don't want people snooping around. So she but I never approached her again specifically about it. But when the shit hit the fan, so to speak, my friend spoke to the guidance counselor at school, and I went in and tried to as well. And for some reason, they believed her and not me. And one of the most heartbreaking moments of my life was I was over at my friend's house. I'm trying very hard not to say her name. My friend's house. I think I was staying the night or whatever. And I was in her bedroom. And you know when like you come out and you hear people talking, you can tell that their voices are lower, which automatically makes you do what?
Listen more,
because you can tell that they're talking about somebody or something. So I came out of her room to use the restroom, and I could hear the adults in the living room talking, and I could tell by their hushed tone that it was probably something interesting, right? And so like I crawled down the hallway, and they were talking about me, and they were talking about like white trash I am, and like that I smelled bad because my mom smoked in the car in the house, and they didn't smoke. I smelled like cigarettes basically, and that I was white trash, and that they should probably keep me from hanging out with her. And I don't know which voice belonged to who, but one of the adults was like, she's a kid. Like, then what's going to happen? And they're like, oh, I just think she's a bad influence and she's trash, or her mom's like a bunch of things that I don't remember clearly. But that was like the first time that I understood like being an outcast or social class even. We lived on the same street, but like her parents were still married. They had a normal family. They definitely had nicer things. That kind of stuff. And they're like, oh, she's probably, it was almost implied that somehow I was responsible, when honestly it was the exact opposite. That situation was already going on. Who knows how long before I was like, wait, this is not okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry that happened to you. And you're only 9 years old, so this is how you lost your virginity, pretty much?
There was no intercourse.
Oh, there wasn't? It's like oral and stuff like that. Oh, okay.
I mean, I get
just as disgusting, honestly.
Technicality, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, but still.